Hello, you. It's me. And I want to apologize to you guys. There was a commenter who mentioned that they wanted to see a clip that I was talking about, and I have yet to be able to find that clip. I know it exists. I know it's there. I know I saw it, but I go under the assumption that you guys know what I've seen, and so I talk about it. But the clip was of Gypsy, and I don't know if it was an interview or if it was a live. I'm not sure. Anyway, what she was talking about was a photo shoot that she was doing with Ken for Lifetime, where they used fake sonograms, and she said that she took these pictures before she even knew she was pregnant, like just before she knew she was pregnant, which was ironic because the white dress that she's wearing in the photos was the same white dress I believe she was wearing when she told everybody she's like 10 or 11 weeks pregnant. So that's suspicious. Anyway, I've been trying so hard to find that clip, and I have yet to find it. And I feel like I need to be better with my receipts, because maybe not all of you have seen that clip, or maybe some of the other clips that I discuss. And so I realize I need to be a little more diligent in that so that you can see what I'm talking about and hear what I'm talking about, as well as me just talking about it. Primarily, this is just a, hey, let's talk about what we've seen kind of a channel. But yeah, I realize not being able to produce that clip, it's just frustrating because I want you to see it as much as I did. Because the reason why it stands so firmly in my brain is because I was shocked by it. I was really, I just like, wow, really? That doesn't make any sense. So you took these pictures with Ken with the fake sonograms. There was like 5 little pictures, little black and white pictures that they were holding up. And she said those were fake, done by Lifetime. And then right after she found out she was 10, 11 weeks pregnant. I don't know. That doesn't read true to me. But anyway, I apologize that I cannot find the clip. I will continue to look for the clip because I know it exists. I saw it. I know other people have seen it. They've talked about it a little bit. So, although I feel like it wasn't talked about enough, which is why I mentioned it. Oh my God, that just scared me. I have a phone app on my phone. It's a game. It's called Find the Cat, and it's silly, but it just meowed at me, and I thought someone just said hello to me. That was freaky. That freaked me out. Anyway, we shall continue. So, yeah. So I'm gonna try to be a little more diligent about showing you the receipts so that you see what I see, so that I know you've seen it. I don't have to guess that you've seen it. So I apologize. I will still try to find that clip, but oh my God, I went through hours of lives with Gypsy, and it wasn't pleasant. Let's put it that way. But I will still try and find that, locate it, so that I can show you this is what she actually said. Another thing that one of my commenters mentioned was that Gypsy doesn't talk anything about pacifiers or cleaning bottles. Actually, a couple of you mentioned that. And that is true. She doesn't really talk about anything. Neither her nor Ken did I hear talk about anything specific about diapers or about feeding her or this is what I remember when I had a baby. When I had a little bitty baby, the hardest thing for me was getting up to make the bottles because I could not breastfeed. So I was giving her formula. Oh, sorry. I gave away she's a her. Anyway, my baby, I gave them formula. And the worst part was getting up. You have to heat up the water, put it in the powder, shake it up, test it to make sure that it's not too hot, and then you give it to the baby. And having to do that constantly, washing bottles constantly, I started doing, they had these bottles that had like a plastic insert so that you can just throw away the plastic insert when the baby's done, and that way you don't have to just do anything more than like rinse the bottle and the nipple a little bit. So I used those, which did, it was a game changer in quite a few ways. It helped me to, get things done a little quicker. Not quite so tedious, but it was still hard work. And when you have like no sleep and you have to feed the baby's on a schedule, and just getting up and down, doing all those things, washing clothes. I mean, you're doing so much all at once. And that's why you're so exhausted. Even with help, there's like a mechanism in most mothers, if not all, I'll say most because never say all, where when the baby cries, it gives you like an irritant feeling, and a feeling of urgency, because you have to go get up and see what's wrong with the baby, see what's going on with the baby. And she is way too calm and relaxed. It drives me crazy to watch her, because I look at her, I'm like, if you've got like 5 nannies taking care of your baby, okay, I could see that, but I just don't see new mom written on her face. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not a person who says, oh no, she doesn't have a baby. I'm saying maybe she does have a baby, but who's taking care of that child? Ken seems to have no attachment to the child whatsoever. And Gypsy, although she talks about very benign things, she doesn't talk about mom things. And I don't want to be biased. I can only go by my experience and by people that I've known who are new parents. And they don't act like new parents. Everybody's different, etc., etc. We all know this. But it's the little things. Like, even though I wasn't breastfeeding, my boobs still hurt. They still kind of ached a little bit. She didn't talk about any of that. She doesn't talk about, the healing after giving birth. There's a lot of things associated with that. She just was like, oh, I'm fine now, one weekend, and look at me, I'm happy. I mean, I had a period for like 2 weeks after I gave birth, which is normal as far as what my doctor told me. So I wasn't at my best one weekend. Did I lose a lot of weight? Yeah, a lot of the weight I gained about 60 pounds, and 40 of it was gone when I gave birth. So, I looked a lot leaner, but I still was feeling like trash. And she always looks so showered and so fresh, which, I guess you would want to be for doing a live. But she doesn't talk about the paranoia I felt leaving my child even for a second. I put the baby in one of those little, I forget what they're called. It's not like a car seat, but it is where you can put the baby in. They kind of lay back, but they're not fully laid down. Anyway, I put my baby in that so that I could try to take a quick shower. And the whole time, I keep opening the curtain, looking at the child, looking at, like it's, it's so nerve-wracking. And I see none of that with her. And I mean, granted, I'm kind of a nervous Nelly anyway, anxiety and all that. But even so, I've never seen a parent so calm and not talking about the things that you hear, but not talking about the things that parents experience. I think that's where it's at. I don't hear her or Ken talking about the experiences of being a parent, of, I don't know, I remember my child when they were about 3 weeks, their upper lip to me looked a little bit purple, and I was scared, and I called the doctor, and and the doctor said, no, I'm sure the baby's fine, just watch the baby, make sure they're okay. But and just like little things, because I read that if that happens, it could be they're not getting enough breath, they're not getting enough air, and just the little paranoia things. And I never changed a diaper until I had my child. And so, that in itself was an experience, making sure that I did this right and I did that right. Like I made it very systematic. At that time, they told you to use powder. Now you don't. But at that time, I would clean my child up. I would put a little of ointment stuff on to make sure they don't get diaper rash, a little bit of powder on top, and then I put the diaper on. And it was like a whole process. I never heard Gypsy once speak of any of these things. Just the little things. Just how hard it is to get socks on a baby. Or to put a little dress on, or a little jumpsuit. Sometimes a pain in the butt. These are real people. They're not dolls. So you have to be very gentle, very careful. Sometimes the manufacturer doesn't think about things like that, so it makes it harder to put the clothes on your baby. Just these little experiences. They never speak on any of these. I mean, the first time my child burped, the first time my child threw up on me. I mean, it's gross, whatever. But these are parent experiences that you have. And I hear none of this from them. Just, oh, she's really healthy, and oh, we've been bottle feeding her with formula, and oh, she sleeps a couple hours before her next feeding. Those are like generic book things. I see now why people are saying that, because it really is. There is no silly, fun stories. Like, my favorite story about my child is, they were probably a year old, or almost a year. And we were going, I decided to take her to this mall. It's a small mall, but it was nice enough just to stroll her around in her fancy stroller and look at stuff, just to get out of the house. Because, my God, as a new parent, you just, you're in the house 24/7. You're watching this little darling, as they're moving and growing and doing stuff, but sometimes you get a little cabin fever. So I took my child out, and we were going around. She and I had just gotten over the flu, so it was nice to get out of the house, and we were healthy. Don't get me wrong, we were healthy, but anyway, I just wanted to get out of the house and breathe some air and be around people, and So I'm walking around, and I spy this place that has artwork. They also do framing. And I thought, oh, I have a few things, a poster or two that I wanted framed. So I went in there just to inquire about how much it would be to get something framed, and look at some of their artwork and all. When I went in, it was fine. It was a lot of fun looking at all the pretty things. My child was in their stroller, so they weren't touching anything, or they're just looking around like I was. And the salesperson approached me. And so I asked him, is it very expensive to do some framing? I have a few things I want to frame. And he was so condescending and rude and talking down to me like I was dirt. And by the end of the conversation that we had, I'm not sure how long it was, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, I wanted to cry. he made me feel so horrible about myself. And he was just standing there, smug as everything. He was wearing a really nice suit, nice shoes, and just standing there smug, thinking he did something that day by tearing me down and making me feel lower than dirt. And so just as I was about to go, my child, whatever, she's my daughter. My daughter leaned forward, holding on to the stroller, leaned forward and vomited all over his shoes and on the store floor as well. And I started laughing so hard, and he looked down in disgust. He was so shocked and appalled, and I just said, "Have a good day," and I left. It was almost like my child's intestines knew that he was a jerk, and so she threw up on him. Anyway, it's a gross story, but it's fun. I think it's funny. Anyway, maybe had to be there. But that is an experience of a parent, okay? Or even of a person. And we hear none of that. I had stories like that. In fact, when my child was born, the first thing she did is they gave her to me. I keep saying her. They gave the baby to me. I held her. I cuddled her. And then she pooped on me immediately. Because Mama had to have Taco Bell about 3 or 4 hours before giving birth. But of course, it was gross. I didn't even notice, to be honest with you. They grabbed her real quick. They're like, "Oh, let me see the baby for a second." They grabbed her, cleaned her up. I didn't even know until they told me, and I started laughing. I'm like, "Yep, that's my child." But again, it's just funny, silly little stories. Where are those funny, silly little stories? I know everybody's different, but every parent has an experience, has something that was like gross or silly or joyful. First time they hear their baby laugh. You know, there's so many things like this that you don't hear from them. There's no personal stories. And it just drives me crazy. Again, I'm not a conspiracy person. I want to believe that there is a real baby, but I have yet to see any real evidence that a child exists. Sure, they say, "Oh, I take the baby to the doctor once a week." Why? Healthy babies don't do that. I gave birth, went home the next day. 6 weeks later, I had a checkup for me. And they asked how the baby was, and I said, "Oh, here she is. She's adorable." You know, so I don't understand their constant healthy. If something is wrong with a child, there's nothing wrong with saying, "Oh, well, it turns out that, you know, my child is this or my child is that, but I still love her and she's awesome." You don't hear any of that. It's all very confusing. I don't know if they're just lying. The theory that one of my commenters said that Gypsy's just under psychosis and everybody's playing along and it's just a baby doll. It seems to ring true sometimes because, man, these people just don't make any sense. It doesn't look real to me. It doesn't seem real. It just looks and seems all fake and phony. And again, I want to believe that there's a child, but I have a really hard time. Nobody seems to be attached. Nobody has a cute story. Nobody talks about the ins and outs of actual parenting. And it just doesn't ring true to me. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I got to say about it. I will try very hard to record receipts and show them to you so that I can show you what I've seen or heard and we can discuss. I'm very sorry about that. I will try to do better on that. And I will still try to find that clip if I can. If I do, I will put it up. But I'm just struggling to find it right now. I'm really sorry. Anyway, that's all I got to say.